Alright guys, welcome to the second part of the poker strategy. Heads up 50 and I'll hold them. I'm going to show you 4 trick spots that I ended up in today's grind. And I'm going to talk you through how I reasoned it in this spot and how you are supposed to play them. So here we got King 10 of the spades. Here is it up 2.5x and my sizings are on point again. Here you're supposed to make it 10x and that's what I do. And he flats. 854 is an obvious board to continue barreling. You have such a big range. Wait, let me throw my gum. You have such a big range advantage on this board that you can see with your whole range. If you make it like half pot. So that's what I do. And I also like every spot where you can do it with your whole range, because then it gets so much easier to play the hand well. Because on later streets I can figure out and split my range correct much easier. So I make the half pot bet, he calls. The 10 is a very good turn for me. It gives me top pair, second kicker, and I still have the strong flush draw to go. So to balance out my range here, this is an obvious bet. I will get paid by 8s, 5s, even like some 4s you can't really fold, and some other stuff that has to continue with. So we're just barreling, making it slightly bigger this time, trying to put some pressure on his range, setting up the good river shove as well. And here he makes a call. And then here comes the 6. This is a really bad card for me because it does complete the straight with a 7. So my top pair doesn't look as good anymore. But I see a lot of players make mistakes here. There's just $27 behind right now, and we have 44 in the middle. And that means that the 10 is still pretty strong, right? So say that he shoves now. We just have to be right, like, okay, we can actually see what happens. He does shove, so we have to be right 28% of the time here. And we are pretty high up in range with a top pair here, so we can actually not really fold this. If we didn't have 2 spades in our hand, we would never, ever be able to fold a 10. You could either jam for value on the river, or you could check call, like in this spot. With 2 spades, however, you could argue for having some folds, but you would still have to call this some amount. And that's what I like to do. And he shows the river 7, so that's a little annoying. He played his hand correctly though, all the way. He raised, called the 3-bet. Then on the flop he has a gut shot of his call. Then with the 10 he gets a straight on the 9 as well, so he has to call the turn. And yeah, obviously when it completes he has to jam for value, so well played of him too. Right, next hand here I have ace-7 suited. I raise it up, he 3-bets, and this is just an obvious call, nothing really to think about. And we're a little less deep here, by the way. He has like 3,400. When 100 BB is 500. Yeah, 5,000 or $50 instead of 34. Okay, so 8-7 deuce rainbow here. You're supposed to be pretty much c-betting his whole range. He likes c-bets around half pot, which is pretty standard. Ace-7 definitely not going anywhere, and no points in racing here. So we make the flat. The 9 is a pretty good card for my range. However, if we would continue barreling here, ace-7 is not as strong anymore. I just got a lot of stuff that completed, and like if I call with like 10-9 or jack-10, it's just very good for my overall range. So as well, he's supposed to check here a lot. He checks over to me. No point in doing anything else than checking back. Like I really want to see the showdown. The queen on the turn a river is not super good for me, because now I have 3 overcards to the 7. And he goes and makes it half pot. The thing here though is that with the ace kicker, your hand usually gets much better as a hero call in game 3 optimal. And I also think that he might be over bluffing the queen. If I had a hand like queen jack, I think he would put that in his bluffing range on the turn, and other stuff that would like have a queen in them. So on this queen river here, I decided to go for the hero call. I just need to be right 1/4 of the time, and he tables 3s, and I win this hand. By the way, 3s is super bad. He should still check 3s on the river. Like there's just a slight percent that I have a deuce. I'm gonna check down. So picking 3s for this bluff is totally stupid. Yeah, so we win that on his mistake, which is awesome. Queen is suited here. Here is it up. Here we should be mixing between 3-betting and calling. I like it to 3-bet this time. There comes the call, and here's the ace-king-jack. The thing with those connector boards in 3-bet spots is that it's actually a little tricky for me to continue barreling, because he's going to be able to float with any queen and 10 on the flop. And like, yeah, it's just going to be able to stick around in the pot a lot. However, the queen specifically is my strongest bluff here, right? This is the best gut shot I can have. So with the queen, I do want to continue barreling. do it have pot, he calls. The 9 is kind of a similar spot. Like it's not a super good card for me. It doesn't affect that much. Okay, it's a decent card for me. And since I had a pretty narrow range on the flop, like I didn't barrel with 5-4. I didn't barrel with 9-8. Like I skipped all those hands. The queen is like my main bluff. So my strong flop bet range is still ahead far on this board. So the queen is an obvious continue. You should still continue with the queen here all the time, basically almost all the time. He calls. And now the 3. This is an interesting spot because I do block like queen 10 the nuts. I do block ace queen off, which would be strongest ace call. And yeah, so the queen, I think I want to put this always in my bluffing range. The question is what size we want to do it. And I feel like we can be mixing here because it has different sort of values. Like blocks a straight, might call for an overshove. It's not that important when we're not this deep. Like if we had like $100 behind and I blocked the straight, that would be more important because when we're this shallow, we can go very wild with even the top pair hand. So I decided to make it half pot here because I felt like it was a greater chance that it was gonna overfold versus half pot bet, because people read into those as a little fisher, like looking for the call, as if I jam here, it would look like I'm trying to push him off the hand. I'm not thinking that too much, but I know that with this hand I can both shove and do half pot, so that's why I picked half pot in this specific spot. He actually tanked for pretty long before he called and showed ace-3 for the river 2 pair. I think he has to call the river either way, but like when it's the 2 pair on the river, like it's nothing to talk about if he can jam on me, which I'm not 100% sure about. Last hand ace-jack on the button, raised it up, e3 bets, standard call here. 10-5-4 with the flush draw. I have the jack of diamonds. Easy bits into me half pot, just standard call again. We can never fold in these spots, guys. We just have to be sticky ace high. And the 4, again, is super good card for ace high. It's actually pretty good, like a solid card for my range as well, because I do call with all my 4s. However, I just have suited 4s, so I'm not gonna have like a ton of them, but yeah, still. So he continues barreling, and he goes pretty small here. If it had a pretty big size, I would have had to fold out ace high. But now I get like, as you can see here, 23% in the pot odds. So ace-jack does easily qualify for a call here, especially with the diamonds. Again, we have a better blocker for river, if the river is a diamond, as the hand yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, or this morning actually put it up. So nothing to think about here. We do make another call, and then the jack on the river, which is great for me because he's gonna value bet most of his 10s. So rivering top pair, top kicker here is the 6th spot. He checks over to me. And nothing to talk about inside things or anything here. This is just an obvious jam. The stacked pot ratio is less than 1, so we just smack it in. He tanks for super long, and then he calls me with ace king. So that was amazing to see. Kind of the same hero call that I did yesterday, but like the river was a 10 instead, so that just makes ace high a lot better than this jack river. I would want to see him fold here mainly. I do think the call is fine at some frequency though, since he doesn't have a diamond in his hand. So like he do unblock every bluff that I can have, and he does block like ace jack or ace 10 for value. I guess I could jump. So ace 4 suited too. So it's still like not high enough in his range, but at some frequency he can call with his hand. Okay, that was it for today. How to crush 50 NL Hold'em. We'll be sharing more of these videos. Stay tuned.